perfect for you if you are thinking about starting a business, A. B, you're working full time and you're wanting to start your own business eventually. Liz, I'm just giving a rundown of who this is perfect for. If you tend to like stress eat, you eat your feelings, this is perfect for you because we talk about this. If you own a business and you're like kind of stressing and feeling overwhelmed, this is also for you. So here we go. Liz, welcome. Hi.
Hi, thank
Anything but love,
you.
live podcast. Here we are.
I
So
love
Liz,
it.
let's jump right in. Who are you and what do you do what do you do and why do you do it?
Mm. I'm an intuitive wellness coach, and so I help primarily women stop stressing and obsessing about food, learn to love their body. And really, it's just about eating for health, but also enjoyment.
Yeah, and I think there's a
Mhm.
lot of people out there that are trying to intuitively eat, and that's confusing to us because we sometimes can crave carbs and sugar, and there's the whole intermittent fasting, do we not, etc. And so I think what's really nice about being behind the scenes of your business all that time, coaching you, that I was able to see like, oh, there's some shit that you teach people that is really good. And I know when I started sharing some of those tools and techniques with some of my friends who have the food chatter, that's what my friends call it. They call it like it's that conversation that's constantly happening in your head about what to eat. Should I skip a meal? Should I not? They're already planning their next meal when, and especially when you're feeling stressed. And so I thought what made the most sense is having you on to have this conversation around how you built your program. So I know you're in the middle of launching it right now. And so can you share a little bit with those of us who are listening live and then eventually those listening on the podcast? What is your program and why did you create it specifically?
Yeah. So I've created a program. It's a 6-month group coaching program called Nourish and Nurture. And it's really about what I just said, like enjoying food again, finding that, like getting in tune with your body and tuning out all of that. What should I eat? What shouldn't I eat? Oh my gosh, I want to eat this, but I don't think I'm supposed to. And oh, but avocado has a lot of fat. And am I eating too much? Like just coming back to the body and getting in tune with what it is that your body's asking for, what it needs, what serves it best. Um, and then also just learning to like in throughout that process come to appreciate and love your body, which really creates a sense of like self-acceptance just overall. So it's about food, it's about body image, but it's also just about self-acceptance, self-compassion. And that's why we got that nurture piece in there. Like all of what will happen within the 6 months, we'll be able to like, you'll learn tools to really like soften in and like tame that nervous system while also getting more like confident with your food choices, learning what it is that your body that treats your body really well, how you can nourish yourself the best.
When you were putting together the tools, and I know I'm acting like I don't know. You guys, I coached this for a long time, but I'm trying to like be mindful of the fact that I'm like interviewing you for the podcast while also knowing like everything that there is to know about her program. But for those of you who don't know, Liz and I coached together. She hired me. She had already had her business, was working full time, decided that she wanted to really grow her business. And so, Liz, do you want to comment on that a little bit? Because then I want to go back into the group program, Nourish and Nurture, for a second. Like, what was
Yeah.
it about what you were going through at the time that you were like, all right, I'm working full time, plus I have the side business. Like, what
hmm
was going on in the business and life that you were like, hey, maybe Katie can help me with starting the
Yeah.
program?
Yeah, there were so a couple of things. Like you said, I work full time. I've got like a really full life. And so I had all these ideas that, and I knew I kind of wanted a group program, but it was like, how do I bring that to life? Like I need somebody that's done this before that helps people with it, with just that. And so that was a huge piece for me. And then also like I've had this business for a while now, and it's always been like something that I wanted to do on the side, but it's like how can I then turn what's sort of just been like a hobby into some, making some more money. And so that was like the probably a secondary factor,
Yeah.
because like you said, I already have a full-time job, like I'm doing fine, but I really would love to see this grow and eventually become become my full-time gig. So this is a step in that direction as
I'm
well.
so glad that you brought that up, because I think a lot of people feel like they can't talk about the fact that they have a side hustle when they have a full-time job, and admit that they actually want it to become their full-time job eventually. And I think the more conversations we can have about that openly, honestly, it doesn't mean you have to do it on social media, but here we are. I think the more it gives people the freedom to be like, yeah, you know what, I am going to promote my business. I am going to talk about the things that I'm really purposeful and passionate about. So I appreciate you saying that on here, because I think a lot of people can resonate with that feeling. And you brought up something really important at the beginning that I think not a lot of people realize, that they too have this issue. And it's why I always say and raise my hand, like, hey, I'm the perfect person to coach you through this, is when you have so many ideas. Meaning, for you, you already were the intuitive wellness coach. You already knew that. But when you came to me, you were talking about the fact that you have all these ideas. You know, you're like, maybe a group, maybe I already have private coaching, maybe it will be a course, maybe it would be. And so we kind of flushed through all the ideas. And ultimately, by asking you questions that your intuition could answer, we ultimately came to the decision of like, okay, let's do a group program that is an extended period of time. And I know, people are changing their appetite for how they purchase coaching, I think. But I really, and you and I both felt this way, we got to stick to your guns on 6 months. And that's why I do private coaching for 6 months. You can only make so much progress if it's a 2-week, 3-week, or even a 3-month. But if you're in for 6 months, you bet your ass you're going to change your relationship to your food, the relationship to your body, these things that you coach. So then that way people are actually able to go, okay, you know what? Like, I made a significant difference. The person I am a month ago or 6 months ago is not the person that I am today. So why do you feel like
100%.
for you, group coaching really spoke to you for you to create that as a branch of your business? And then why the 6 months?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And I feel like I just have to say too, like you were great throughout this whole process of just like having me touch into that intuition piece. And it's exactly like why I think we worked so well together of just like, you know, there are coaches out there that'll tell you this is the only way to do it. And like you did it a certain way, right? So like, but you didn't come to me with that prescription. It was just very much like what you know your clients best. You've been there, like what is going to serve them best. Also, like what feels right to you. And so the 6 months felt right to me because, and I'm sure you found this, but just with business coaching, when we're diving into issues people have with food, so much comes up. And sometimes like you'll like, you know, tune into something that happened in your childhood, like a deep-seated belief that you didn't know was there, and that will like unravel a whole bunch of other things. And
Yes.
so it was really important to me that I created like enough space for people to be able to like take each of these modules that I created and like spend some time with them. And so that they had that space in case things did come up, or even if they didn't, like we are unlearning years. Like I'm 34. I'm turning 34 soon. So I have 34 years of like programming that I have to unlearn in a program like this. And I'm sure with business it's the same thing. Like certain things come up. And so it was just really important to me that I had that space to be able to hold them through the 6 months. And then, you know, some people might even need more support after 6 months. It's not like I'm saying you're golden
Yeah.
in 6 months, but I thought it felt like a really good way for me to not just be like, okay, here's a whole lot of information in 5 weeks now. Good luck.
Yeah, because I always say that to clients, because I'll have some people ask me to coach them, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and they'll say, and they'll try to like wiggle with me. They're like, "Can I come in for just a month?" And I'm like, "No," because the shit I'm about to do and change your life is going to require that I hold your hand through it if you want me to, but also to give you space for life to happen. I had a coaching call with a client the other day. She's brand new, and she said, so, what can I anticipate? Because that was something that one of my clients said. She goes, "You're really good at telling me what I can anticipate this process is going to be like." And I said, you can anticipate that imposter syndrome is going to come up. So the shit you thought you healed already that you're about to go teach someone else, all that's going to pop up. I think I said that to you too. I was like, Liz,
Yep.
your relationship with food has been what you're teaching. And I think what's so interesting is like, wouldn't be surprised if all the old stuff that you thought that you had already healed is going to pop up. And so that's why I said to her, I was like, that's why we need 6 months, is because it gives me ample time to teach you what I need to teach you in that short period of time. And then you get to make the decision if you'd like to stay afterwards to get more support, because now you don't need it, you want it. When people first join a coaching program, in my experience, yes, you want it, but really you kind of need it. Like, I remember, some people have said to me, I need to get organized. I think that was actually one of the things you said. I have all these ideas and I
Yeah.
just need to get organized. You didn't say I
Mm-hmm.
want to get organized, and people who are joining your program, Nourish and Nurture, they're not coming in saying, I need to unravel the past and understand exactly the tumultuous shit I went through as a kid that makes me feel the way I felt about my body. No, they're saying, holy shit, I can't fit into my clothes, or I'm so critical of my body. I'm so fucking sick of this. It's a need. It's like, I want to feel better. And so I love that we've both given our clients ample time to actually let the stuff that's naturally gonna unravel. And so
Mm-hmm.
one of the questions that gets asked a lot, and so I want to ask you your opinion of this. Again, I know the answer because I coached you, but when you were thinking about pricing, I know we just unraveled, when you were thinking about how much time, but when it came to pricing, what do you feel like for you made the most sense, so that it could be affordable to the person who's your ideal client, but also it's being respectful of your time, your energy, the behind the scenes work that's happening. You don't necessarily feel like you're trading time for money, create a profit, things like that. What came up for you as you were creating that? Because everyone
Mm.
asks, how do I price this? Whatever it is they're doing, I don't care if they're doing a product, coaching, consulting, everyone asks, how do I price
Mm-hmm.
this? What do I charge?
Yeah, yeah. So I think what was great for me is that I have been through like so many different coaching programs myself.
Yeah.
And so I really like already had an idea of what felt like maybe was harder for me to like commit to and what felt easy. And so
Yeah.
I went with something that like I really honestly didn't think too much about the money that I wanted to make. I felt like, that was something I thought of like secondarily. It was just, what would I feel comfortable paying for a program like this?
Yeah.
And then having your validation there to be like, no, yeah, that sounds right. And then for me to kind of like calculate what that would be for me felt really good.
Yeah.
So that was just my process.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, and just for those of you, we can get into the numbers. I know Liz won't mind. Is like,
Yeah.
I talked to her when we were figuring out what to charge for her group coaching program, Nourish and Nurture. It was okay. These women are going to come to you for 6 months. They're going to be talking about how to stop stress eating, how to feel more at peace with their body. Okay, what kind of love and attention do they need? Is it, how
Mm-hmm.
often do you need to meet? What are the resources you're going to be giving them afterwards? And so I gave her a general rule of thumb. I said in 2019, when I started my coaching business, the average that I was seeing group coaching programs go for was about 50% less than what you were charging for one-on-one coaching. That's
Yeah.
just like a general rule of thumb. So don't get me wrong. There are coaches out there that make $100,000 a year. So their group coaching programs might average around $50,000 a year. Yeah, that's not kind of the kind of money I want to be spending right now. Right. So we
Mm-hmm.
really looked at it and said, okay, like, what would it be like? What's your private coaching costing you? Or what is it? How much does it cost to coach with you? And we realized that the number was actually too low based on what services Liz was providing, the time, the energy, the attention, the access they got, etc. So we went up in price in her private coaching. What did we land on again for group coaching for Nourish and Nurture?
Yeah. Nourish and Nurture is 250 a month or 1400 for the full six
I
months.
mean,
Yeah.
don't mind the sounds coming out of my mouth, but that's like, nope. And for those of you, by the way, that's US numbers. For those of you, we're both in the US.
Yes.
So
Yes.
250,
Yeah.
which if I'm not mistaken, in Canada, that's closer to like three, a little over three, I think. That's not bad at all. In fact, like, that is what I would call like a no-brainer offer. That
It,
is like,
yeah,
no big
that's
deal.
how I feel too.
I spend more on
Absolutely. If
that.
somebody offered that to me, I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, I spend that exact money at the grocery store on a weekly basis. I think I can
I
do it
know.
once a month for coaching that helps me actually have a better relationship with my body and feel more secure in it. So I think that's
Mm-hmm.
super helpful. Thank you for sharing the prices, because I do think that, one, that level of transparency allows someone who's wanting to start and or grow their own business to say, oh, all right, 250, like, I would pay that, because that's how I always price stuff. I would pay that if I was looking for the same type of service.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to go into, I kind of have like 5 or 6 more questions.
Okay. Yeah.
But let's talk about working full time and the side hustle. You're building this coaching business. You've already had it established. You're a few years in when I met you. So
Yeah.
at this point, how many years is the business? How old is the business?
Um, I think maybe 2020, 2021 is when I like really
Okay.
started.
So like
So 3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So 3, 4 years. So what do you feel like you know now that you didn't know then about balancing like work, your marriage, the house, the like side hustle of starting your or growing your own business? Like, what do you look back now and go, oh, my baby girl, back in the day when I started this in 2020, 2021, I wish I had this piece of advice or this knowledge. What would that be?
Yeah. I think the biggest lesson, and my husband and I still laugh about this, is just like how quick I wanted it to happen. I
Oh,
was just like,
yeah.
I started and then I was like, let's go. For
Me too.
next year, I'll be out of my full-time job. We'll be living large. Just like,
We're impatient mothers. We really
we
are. We're
are.
impatient.
We
And you know
are.
what? There's nothing wrong with that as well,
Mm-mm.
but it is when it affects our self-esteem, which I'll go into because some of those questions are around self-esteem here in a minute. I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that
Mm-hmm.
honesty. So your advice or what you know now that you wish you know then was that not to you can be confident and you can be excited and energetic for the business to go fast, but it might not necessarily go as fast as you want it to go
A
and
hundred
success.
percent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know that I would have wanted it to really go that fast because I was still figuring out so much. I mean, when I first started, I I I wasn't really sure what exactly I would be doing. I wasn't super confident in like going this route. And then as the years went on, it was just like, no, this is my passion. This is how I want to help people. I have so much background in it, like it's just it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it took me a while to get there and to kind of like figure out what was right for me. And still, even now, it's like, and I'm sure it's the same with you. You learn something new about yourself, something new about your business every day.
Every single day. And you know, you see the success that people have online where they're like, oh, I made $100,000 in X amount of time. And, you know, we have this sort of comparison trap that happens of like, well, how come they're having so much success and I'm not compared to
Yeah.
them? Oh, they made X amount of money in the same amount of time I've been in business and I haven't. Did you ever have any of that sort of imposter syndrome, either while we were coaching together or before?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. For me, it was just like jealousy of
Yeah.
just like how can their business go at that rate when mine isn't? And like it's I just care so much about it, and I really really want to help people this way. That for me it was just like, yeah, a lot of kind of like beating myself up over like, oh, I'm probably not doing this right. Maybe my price isn't right. Am I not marketing? It's just this.
All
It's
this
like
like
the food chatter, but
the
it's the
food
business
chatter, but it's
chatter.
business chatter. I told one
Yes.
of my clients, I go, I should be like a business anxiety coach. I should rename it because the shit that goes on up here when you're like, well, how come they're having success and I haven't? Did I do something wrong? Should I be manifesting more? Should I buy that course? Should I
Yes.
take that? Yeah, it's like, shh.
100%. Yeah, yeah. Gets you absolutely nowhere, just like the food chatter does. But yeah.
What's your best advice for someone who is experiencing the business chatter, the business anxiety chatter?
I think the best advice is to remember that everybody does things differently. And like the person that has that success, they did something one way and it worked for them, but that way isn't going to necessarily work for you. And like when I'm like stressing out about social media, I think of all the people that I know that have had huge success in their business, not even using social media. So it's just, you really have to figure out like what's going to work for
Yeah.
you, and like and then stay true to that. Like also, like if social media doesn't feel right and authentic to you, then like you don't have to do it. There's no right way to do business.
Absolutely. And you and I've had those conversations privately, and you're reminding me that I just recently had one with another client. You know, she's
Mm,
feeling an aversion to being on social media. She's just not feeling it right now. And I just said to her, I was like, what would it be like if you took a break for a week? What if you took a break for 2? What if you use that time to build momentum behind the scenes of the business, whether that's launching the
Mm,
group program, the app, whatever the thing may be that you're doing. And, you know, someone's commenting here saying, yeah, no one size fits all. I think
exactly.
I had a mentor, Taylor Lee. She used to say that you can take what I've done, you can tweak what I've done, you can toss out anything I've done, but don't just do what I've done, because that's not going to work for you. And I always
Hmm.
thought that that was such great advice, which is the same advice you just gave. And one of my other mentors, she said, you know, you have to remember that some people just have fucking dumb luck. Like they have just, they're
Yeah,
just fucking lucky, and it's annoying, and you don't understand why it's happening, and you're wondering, you know, should you manifest more or do this or pray more or whatever it may be. And we start to create more offers and more offers and more offers. But eventually what happens is you reach a level of success where you go, oh, it's working. Like what I'm
yeah.
doing is working. And so I thought about that recently in my own business. I was like, I had really a lull period and then a huge amount of growth, almost like 300% in just 1 month. And was like, okay,
Mm,
what did I do differently then? And it was like, well, no, you didn't. You literally had done 5 years of all this like consistency of sending the newsletters, doing the podcast, coaching people. Even just like the growth came even just by raising my prices, which I think sometimes we can get in our heads and say, oh, I've got to lower. So I
hmm.
love that reminder that it's just not a one size fits all, and that we all have a different path and journey. And so one of my one of my coaches, actually, she's a client as well. She said, we're not allowed to quit running our own businesses on our worst day. We're allowed to quit
Mm,
on our best days. And I was like, amen, ain't that the truth?
hmm. Mm,
Because you can really get in your head. So when it comes to, these are kind of wrapping up my final questions here. When it comes to self-esteem, when it
mm.
comes to building your business, growing it, what are some things that you know now, a couple of years in, around your self-esteem that really helps you to kind of move forward in the business and help you feel really centered, like in your home life as well?
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's a really good one. I think that the first thing that comes to mind, and this is probably relates to everybody, but just for me specifically as a coach, just remembering that like there's always people out there that I can help. And when I compare myself to other people, it's like comparing apples and oranges, right? Like somebody that goes to a different health coach, like they might be drawn to them for a different reason. We can know the same stuff, but somebody is going to be drawn to me because of who I am. And it just comes back to like being confident in who you are, and like and just accepting that this is it. And people like you have friends that are friends for a reason, and you have other people that aren't friends for a reason. It's the same thing with coaching. And you know, there's always going to be somebody that's like at that stage that you can help. You don't have to have like a million different certifications and degrees, and like it's just, I mean, that's how it's been for me, especially even getting coaches, right? Like, I don't care what they have, right? It's
Yeah.
just if they can help me with wherever stage I'm at.
Yeah. And
So that's been huge.
that has been huge. And I feel like you're reminding me too that it's less about the success that someone else has had and more about, like, I hear this a lot from new business owners. It's like, okay, but I have this idea, but there's like 5 other people or 500 other people doing it. And I
Yeah,
would literally go, okay, so go listen to the episode that Liz and I just did on this, because
right.
you summarize that so beautifully. And then the other point too is that when it comes to growing and just realizing, oh, a lot of people are chiming in and saying, bang on, needed to hear this. So right on, Liz. That's awesome. Is is just being able to remember that you have a special gift that someone doesn't necessarily have, who might do the same thing as you. And you touched on something very important, which kind of circles back to the social media conversation, but this can be used for like a website, newsletter, etc. I work with people who don't have a social media presence,
Mm,
so I actually buy from them. I see them regularly. And I have a chiropractor who doesn't have a website. She doesn't have social media. And she is sold out and has like a ridiculous wait list, like years and years and years of wait list, right?
yes.
So there's that advantage, because a lot of people wonder, like, even when you're been on social media for a while, and you're trying to grow the business and you're like, oh, this is so frustrating. a mentor gave me the advice that you do need to sell every day. So whatever that looks like, whether that's selling through giving, whether that's selling through being in a coaching call with a client and being super present, or whatever that thing might be, newsletter, social media, you name it. But you focus on one specific problem, and you kind of trailed off. You said it, but then like you were wrapping up your thought, which is, you said, I don't care if the person I'm hiring, be it a coach or whatever, has had all this success. I don't care about that. What I care about is, can they help me, do the thing or that I need to do, that I want to do. And so for anyone listening, if you're finding that you're wanting to grow the business, you're wanting to make more money, you are wondering how come it's not going as fast as you want it to, the difference between what you're doing and what I'm seeing other business owners doing, mostly who I coach, who are just so busy that they are like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. How am I going to grow this business more? Is they're focusing on one specific problem. And I know you're going to roll your eyes at me and sigh and maybe hold your breath right now. So I'm going to encourage you to sit up nice and tall, exhale. I know you solve a lot of problems. Liz mentioned a bunch of problems that she solves within her Nourish and Nurture group program, right? But ultimately, she helps people stop stressing about what they eat so that they can love their body. Boom, simple, right? The same can be said for you guys. It's like, whatever your product or service is focused on, focus on the one problem. For me right now, the problem that I help people with is I help business owners who are growing their business, who are growing really fast, stop feeling so overwhelmed, so that they can go back to having a great love life and a sex life. They can go back to working out at the gym and getting a better routine and going back to food prep and things of that nature, right? So that's not to say that people who have coached with me in the past I have clients who are just starting. That's going to be true for Liz too. She's going to have people who have been on this journey for years and years and years, or there's going to be people who just recently realize that they have food chatter. She might get some men coming into her program, even though it's a female driven program. So you're not going to rule yourself out. Sorry, I'm doing a little coaching in between, but you're not going to rule out the ideal person who wants to work with you just because you're so specific. So I hope that's really helpful. Anything you want to add before I go look at my notes and see what other questions I was going to fire off at you?
I mean, I just want to say that that's a huge thing that you helped me with, right? It's like, when it comes down to it, my biggest passion with the work that I do is helping people be able to enjoy their life. Like, I believe that the clients that I have amazing potential, and I want to see them get rid of all that food crap so that they can reach it, so that they can enjoy their life, spend more time with their kids, build deeper relationships with people. And so like, I get really excited about that. And it's like, oh, there's all these benefits to doing this work. But what you said, it's just like, we'll just simplify it, because like, there are other things too, like, that are getting in the way of somebody spending more time with their kids or whatever. But like, you help people get rid of that food chatter, focus on just, getting into their body. That's your thing. That's your thing. And yes, they're going to get all these other benefits, and that's going to leak into all the different parts of their lives. But yeah, it's all about your superpower, whoever said that.
Yeah, she did. She said superpower. Okay, so last three questions. We're going to go round robin, just quick little answers. What has been your biggest aha moment or moments as we were coaching together as it relates to being a business owner?
Ooh.
By the way, you guys, I don't give my podcast guests the questions before they come for this reason. I love this. I love that she's like naturally just thinking about it.
Moment. Biggest aha moment.
As a business owner.
Gosh. I just want to say, I think like, going into coaching with you, I really thought, like, I had this mindset that like everything was really hard. And working with you, like, things just felt easier. And that's something I'm trying to carry forward, of just remembering that like, this, I can do these things with ease.
Yeah.
I've got it.
Feel easy. Yeah, because the overwhelm is there when you feel like you have all this shit you need to do. So I love that. That's great advice. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the biggest aha moment that you've had coaching together related to launching a program to the public for the first time?
Ooh. Aha moment. like when I'm thinking about the last couple conversations we had about like really the launch plan,
Mm.
the biggest thing for me was like how much you suggested I include my audience in the whole process of it. Like I wouldn't have thought about that on my
Mm.
own. And but as soon as you said it, it was like, oh yeah, I love when people do that on Instagram. Like I love
Can
it.
you
So
can you
that
give an
was really
example?
inspiring.
Can you give an example of something you've done for Nourish and Nurture? Because you're in the middle of launching that program right now. What's a question you've asked
Yeah.
your audience on social media or newsletter?
Um, so before, kind of during pre-launch, I asked people specifically about the modules, and I said, "Listen, I know a lot of you have gone through all of this, or you've been through this. Like, how does this feel to you? Am I missing anything?
Love it.
Does it feel like this would be a good program for you?" So,
Yeah.
and that was great. I got a lot of conversations started
Oh,
that way. A lot of
wonderful.
great feedback.
Oh,
Yeah,
good. That's
yeah.
a great example. That's a great
Mm-hmm.
example. So again, coachable moment for any of you who are launching, aka selling a program, a product, whatever the case may be. Even though in your head, like Liz and I already had all the modules built out. We knew exactly what she was going to say every week in her coaching program. But my advice to her was, hey, before you open the doors so people can buy from you, go out to your audience on social media and ask them what they think about what you've created and be so specific. Hey, module 1 is this, module 2 is this. I'm going to be then talking about, intuitive eating and what that really means. What are your thoughts? And people love giving feedback. So it's really, really
Mm-hmm.
great. And then what happens is they don't realize it, but you've now realized that they're an ideal client. So you're
Yeah,
able to
100%.
circle back with them and say, hey, I made these modifications based off what you said. Any interested in coming in and like working with me? So that's great. And okay, last one. What is the thing that you are most proud of while it was either during our coaching or now that you've realized like after our coaching together? What are you most proud of yourself and in this business that you've created?
Ooh, most proud of.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough. I want to say just my resilience. Like I have been at this for a few years now and like yeah, and even in particular like this year business and otherwise like I've had quite a few disappointments and I've just like really been reflecting on how I take the time to really just be like, okay, sad about something, or like, oh, maybe have a little bit of that business chatter, but then snap right back into it. I'm just like, okay, so what's next? What are we gonna do differently? And yeah, I think all the more I do that, like the more confidence I build.
Yeah, I love that you said that. So this is what I want to wrap up with you guys. One of the things that I tell every single client when they start coaching with me is that I'm going to teach you how to feel your feelings. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Liz already had previous experience with this, whether, and I don't know this off the top of my head, but let's assume it was other coaching programs, it was therapy, it was the book she was reading, it was the certification she was taking. It's like when you are in business, the shit that you thought you healed already is going to come up, like stuff
Yeah.
from like childhood or like that bad breakup that like now you're married and it's like no big deal. It's gonna pop up for whatever the heck reason, which is so annoying because you're like, I have an episode on the podcast called I thought I healed this already for that exact reason, because there are these moments where we're going through and the business doesn't go the way we thought. Maybe we thought someone was going to sign up and they didn't. We thought we were going to have a huge launch and all these people were going to sign up and we didn't. And we now know we have to tweak something about it or whatever that may be. And to allow, I love that you said that the thing that you're most proud of is you're able to acknowledge how you're feeling. And then you're able to say, okay, like what can I do differently? Not necessarily with the particular business, but just in that moment of like, I know this was something you used to do. Like, do I need to go outside? Do I need to go for a walk? Do I need to do anything? Maybe I just need to shut my computer for the day. Like, what can I do to actually sink into the fact that I'm feeling overwhelmed or disappointed, or even in the moments when we're super excited because like, the business just blew up and we're like, oh my God, this is incredible. Like
Yes.
taking those moments to just really appreciate it. So Liz, I am so
100%.
really grateful that you came on to talk about your experience really growing the business that you already had and what coaching with me was like. What do you want to tell people just as we wrap up? Any final thoughts? And then do you want to talk about Nourish and Nurture a little bit? And then
Yeah.
We can go from there.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Um, I think my final thought is just to like, yeah, feel your feelings, but also just know that um, things are going to work out.
Yeah.
Like this is how this is all for you. Like all, that disappointment, all those disappointments that I had, that was all for me. Something's working out in the background, and you just have to trust. And if that's like God that you believe in or whatever it is, like that's supporting you. And yeah, it's all going to work out. Um, and then I guess nourish and nurture. I'd love for anybody just can feel free to DM me, send me a message, however you want to reach out. I'd love to chat about it. Like I said, it's a 6-month coaching program, all focused on trying to stop the obsessing and stressing about food. We're going to learn tools to work through any like um, food rules you have, weird relationships you have with food and eating and your body. And so the idea is to come out more confident in what you're eating, more in touch with your body, your hunger cues, your fullness cues, and just feeling better in your own skin.
You know,
Um,
mm,
yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead if you were going to say something, because I just wanted to chime in
Yeah,
because
no, go
something
ahead.
there.
Go ahead.
I was
Chime
going to
in.
say
Chime in.
that being behind the scenes of all these people's businesses, Liz included, it blows my mind how many times clients come to work with me and they teach me something about myself. And so Liz just said food rules. She said it quickly,
Mm,
but if you didn't hear it, what we do is we make up these rules that we don't even realize we have. Like, I can have
mm-hmm.
dessert once I've had dinner. I can eat my broccoli, but only after I've eaten my protein. Like, you make these rules in your head that you don't even know that you're doing it. And you become kind of obsessed with like, this is the way that it was to be. I the clean the plate club. Anybody else grow up in that
Yeah.
environment? And then, but you're already
Yeah.
full and you don't want to eat. It's like, I don't need to finish my plate. I can just take a smaller portion if I want. And if I've finished it, I can go back and get more later. Like,
Yes.
so it's just been super
Absolutely.
interesting and very eye-opening for me. So I want to thank you because I've been able to have conversations with my nieces who are like, 10 and 6, and to be able to have conversations with the people in my life that I care about to really understand how are we thinking about food in terms of
Mm-hmm.
from a critical place or from a restrictive place or from an overindulging place, and where does that actually come from? Is it coming from us, or did we see it in a magazine, or did we see it in a movie? Did we make
Mm-hmm.
a rule in our heads that if I wear this, then I will be attractive and then I will get that? Or like, what were these things that we've been doing and conditioned to do? And so I'm so grateful that one, I had the privilege of coaching you. So behind the scenes, I could start to see some of these patterns within myself. But then as
Mm-hmm.
somebody who is influential with these young girls that I have in my life, to be able to really encourage them to love their bodies and to support themselves with nourishing the right food. And when they tell me they're hungry, I listen and I say, okay, let's go get food. Or like, okay, but you just ate that and you're upset. Do we want to talk about your feelings? As she's shoving food in
Mm-hmm.
her mouth. And she's like, I'm not upset. And the tears are coming down. I'm like, okay, babe, let's just take a moment. It's okay if you're hungry. We can totally eat. But do you mind coming and sitting with Auntie and like telling me how you really feel? And before you know it, she doesn't even want the food because she was able to get
Mm-hmm.
out what she needed to. So I just want to thank you. You,
Yes.
you don't even realize that the us creating your group coaching program all around stopping the food chatter and creating a better relationship
Mm.
with our bodies is actually helping other people that you don't even know, because technically you're
Yes.
not coaching them, right? So for
Oh.
anyone who is interested in working with Liz, please send her a DM. She is
Mm.
incredible at what she does, and I've had the privilege of coaching with her for over 6 months now, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. Well, like I said, one, I got to see this person grow and flourish who I care about, but then I was also able to take some of the things that she was teaching me and now apply it to my own coaching and my own life, and even the little ones I was just telling you about. So I think, just remember that as well, is that when
Mm.
you sign up for coaching, you're gifting that to so many other people, but then also you're learning so much about yourself as well. So with that being said, if you're interested in coaching with me as well, you're welcome to send me a DM and I can give you next steps from there. But Liz and I are so excited that you listened to this episode live here on Instagram and then as well as on Spotify and iTunes. The podcast is called Anything for Love. If you want to check it out, this episode will be available soon. And for those of you who joined us live, again, thank you, in health and happiness.